Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. The prediction shows, Jay, they're coming thick and fast this week. We're on to the only all-British affair on the card on Saturday night. Joshua Buatsi defending his WBO interim light heavyweight championship of the world against Mundo Callum Smith. It's got a mouth-watering prospect written all over it. This one. I just want to start the show by saying a massive thank you to everyone who watched the two last night, the co-main and main event, especially Dubois and Parker got a really good reaction on that. So thanks very much to everyone for the support there. Jay, Joshua Buatsi, last time out, really good win over Willie Hutchinson. Dropped him a few times. There's that one weird scorecard in there, wasn't there? But he dominated the fight. Let's be completely honest about it. He flattered to deceive a little bit for a few fights before that, should we say. I know he had the Dan Aziz win. But ultimately, he's beat everyone who's ever been in the ring with. That's the cold, hard facts. Whereas you look at Callum Smith, obviously he's had the return since losing via stoppage for the first time in his career against Beterbiev in January last year.
Yeah,
he toed and froed a thin retirement. You know, he did come out with a famous interview after the Beterbiev fight saying, if I can't be the best in the world, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. He looks rejuvenated. He looks like he's up for it. You know, ultimately the Buatsi fight is going to be a tough one. So if he didn't want to do it, he could have probably picked a different opponent. But he's fighting Buatsi because he wants to get back into that world championship contention, and that's what that fight does. It's a fascinating fight, mate. I just want your insight on how you see things on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as I've said about every fight on the card, they're all headline fights, as it was previously, and the 5v5, you know, we're following a vein of consistency. It's a massive fight. Look, I know the Smith. Well, I say I know the Smiths. I know Paul pretty well. I know Stephen. I don't really know Callum and Liam, really. I know them to say hello to, but I'm not, you know, I haven't got a sort of a vested interest as such. So I'm not going to let my bias rule. I think the reason Callum's took this fight, just going back to something he said there about him saying that, you know, if he can't be the best in the world, then he don't know whether he wants to do it anymore. I think this is a case of him proving that, is he still the best here first?
Yeah, I agree.
To world title, because if he goes out there for a world title, you know, people can always say, well, you've not proved that you're the best. There's a new crop here, you know.
Yeah,
you're not even proving. Just bear with me 1 second.
There we go.
Someone knocking on my fucking door.
You've got.
Can they not see? I'm recording here, man. Go away.
Come on, there's boxing to talk about.
Someone will sort it. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, not sure, but I think he wants to prove to himself. Look, Josh Buatsi is an Olympian. He's a world level fighter. He's been known as a world level fighter as soon as he turned over because of what he'd done in the amateur game, and he's proved that to a degree he is of a certain level in the pro game. He's beat everybody they've put in front of him, and he's gone up the levels incrementally, right? And he's growing organically. They're not rushing him. In fact, it's the opposite for Buatsi.
Yeah, they're doing anything
for him. We're screaming for him to have fights that have been big fights that we've talked about him having. Mr. Yard, and those fights have never come to fruition. He was the favourite going into the Hutchinson fight, but not by a lot. Willie Hutchinson, again, is another top-level fighter, one of the best domestically, maybe in Europe. But Buatsi made that look fairly easy in parts. Wasn't an easy night's work, but in parts of that fight, it was really comfortable. And then he upped the levels, and he took Willie Hutchinson out in emphatic fashion, right? So I think that Callum Smith is sort of testing himself like a litmus test to himself, because if he can't beat Buatsi, who is, I know he's an interim world champion, but he's unproven at world level as such. He's proven at domestic level and sort of European level, beating Dan Aziz, but he's sort of on the cusp. He'd be in the top 6 for me rather than top 5. You know what I mean? If we're looking at world level, he's sort of on the fringe. So I think this is Callum's hardest way of easing himself back in, if that even makes any sense. It's probably the toughest fight.
The way I look at it, yeah. Sorry, mate. I was going to say, the way I look at it, he's lost to Canelo and Beterbiev. You know, he's not a shot fighter.
Some of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, he's not a shot fighter, and I think that's the narrative from some people going in that Callum's done.
Absolute madness. I mean, the Canelo fight was what it was. I think Callum's always been a natural light heavyweight. He's always been big for super middleweight. He's tall. It was just a matter of time. And Beterbiev, there's no shame. No one's beat Beterbiev. The best one of the best to ever do it in that division, lost against him. Whatever you may think, on paper, Bivol lost against him. So I think what Callum's doing is this is a litmus test, acid test for himself. If he can get past the likes of Buatsi, who's on the fringe of becoming a proper world champion, then he knows he's ready and he's got what's left. He's got something left to go again to fight for world titles, because Callum Smith has always been British, Commonwealth, European, world. He just went through. So I think this is him going again, but without having to go through all the levels. If he can beat Buatsi, he knows he's ready to go in there.
Steals his thunder, doesn't he? Steals all of the Buatsi thunder if he beats him.
Just a couple of comments. Takes all his momentum.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Pablo B, good to see you, my friend. I hope you're well. He thinks Callum made gas after 6. I do know what you mean.
We've never seen that. We've never seen that. And I don't think Buatsi fights at a high enough pace to do that.
Yeah, Buatsi's output
is steady rather than fast. He's not got a massive punch output for me.
Yeah,
historically,
definitely.
But we don't know what's going to happen on Saturday
night.
It
is interesting, though, because he hasn't done 12 rounds at light heavyweight yet, and he hasn't done 12 rounds since 2020 when he boxed Canelo Alvarez. So it is an interesting point. Callum hasn't seen the rounds for a while. Buatsi
lives the life, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. But Buatsi's seen them every fight. You know, he's not knocking people out, really. I mean, he is, but I mean, you look at Buatsi, he went 12 with Hutchison last time out, didn't he? He went 12 with Dan Aziz. He went 10, 12, 11, his fights before that. So he's going around every single fight.
Buatsi. He is, but he's also going, and this is no disrespect to Aziz.
Craig Richards in there.
Craig Richards. Who's the kid who's just fought? Willie Hutchison. Right? No disrespect to any of these guys, right? But none of them are of a pedigree of Callum Smith. Callum Smith probably hits harder than all of them, I would say. He's potentially bigger than all of them and has boxed at a higher level. So yes,
I think only Beterbiev hits harder than him at 175. I think.
So what I'm saying is, yes, Callum hasn't done 12 rounds for a while, and Buatsi has done a lot of rounds, but he hasn't had to do rounds with somebody in front of him of a caliber of Callum Smith.
That's what's totally so good, different. Isn't it?
So you can go through the minutes. You know, it is only 12 times 3 minutes with a minute's rest in between. But when you're having to work at a higher pace, when you're having to use your brain a little bit more, you're having to watch your feet, mind your P's and Q's more so than you've ever done before, that takes more out of you, mentally and physically. This is the hardest fight of Buatsi's career to date by a country mile. Whereas Callum Smith, no disrespect, is possibly coming down a level for this fight. What I mean is he's boxed at a higher level previously.
Yeah. He's fought two better fighters before.
Fought a lot better fighters. But if Buatsi's as good as we've been led to believe, he could win this fight. For me, though, this is probably, other than the main event, one of the genuine 50-50 fights. Because a lot of them were calling them 50-50, but it's unknown. So, for example, Zhang and Caballel. We don't know much about Caballel, really. This is his acid test as such. Whereas this, we know a lot about both of them, and it is a real 50-50 fight. If Buatsi's as good as what he says he is, he can mix it with Callum. If Callum's got something left like he's led us to believe, then he should beat Buatsi, or it should be a very close fight. I think this fight could go down to a couple of rounds, man. It could go down to a couple of rounds.
I'm with you. I think it'll be close. Just a few more comments. Big up to the man, DJ Pat. Hope you're well, my friend in Sweden. Thanks for joining us. Big fight week indeed, Pat. Lots going on from our end this week, mate. So hope you're well, and thanks for being with us as always. Big up to Lloyd Hernandez as well in the house. Hope you're well, Lloyd.
Yes. I do.
I think he can. Yeah, I think he can win a decision. Yeah, I think Buatsi's tough as well. But if Callum lands one of them patented left hooks or something like that, he's going to be in trouble.
So the issue for me with Joshua Buatsi is he takes a heck of a lot of punches, and he's been able to.
I think he switches off in fights, Buatsi.
It sounds really cliche, but we say it, don't we? He ups his level based on who's in front of him.
Yeah, fights to the level of his opponent and all that.
Can't do that with Callum Smith, and if you're not as good as you think you are, then Callum Smith will put it on you. Can he take one on the whiskers from Callum Smith? We'll soon find out on Saturday night. I've chopped and changed my pick on this a few times. I think I'm probably going to change it from a pick I had.
We'll do another video tomorrow.
But,
DJ Pat said Buatsi versus Smith will be a really good fight. Got Smith on unanimous decision. I think he's the better one, but still, look, it's going to be incredibly close. Jay, we may as well get into our picks in to end this this video. Go on, mate. I'll let you lead the dance on this one.
I have chopped and changed with this, and I was going to say Smith unanimous decision, but I've got a sneaky feeling Callum's going to get a 10th round TKO, but I think it's going to be a mix of fatigue, punches. I think Joshua Buatsi is going to gas. Or not gas, but fatigue, get tired, and I think his punch resistance is going to go later on in the fight. And I see Callum Smith getting him out of there late on between round 10 and 12.
Yeah.
So I'm going Smith TKO 10 and 12.
Okay. Look, for me, there's two outcomes in this fight, I'll be honest. I know I've just said it's possible, and it is possible, of course. It's two men with a pair of boxing gloves on. I think Smith will either knock him out or Buatsi will win on points. And I know that probably sounds like Captain Obvious over here, but that's just genuinely how...
Splinters in the old backside.
Yeah, that's genuinely how I see it going. But I have a prediction. I think Buatsi will win it on points. I honestly do. I'm basing my pick purely on the fact of his levels of activity. You know, I know Smith blew the cobwebs off on the Edwards Yafai card last time out. He didn't look great, but you can't read into that. But, you know, I don't know. I'm basing it off hunger from Buatsi. I'm basing it on his time and his boxing ability. You know, he is good. It's a coming of age night for Buatsi, and I know he's 31. He's not a youngster. Yeah. But it's, you know, for me, there's a lot more pressure on him than there is Callum Smith. He's been a world champion. He's been there. He's fought better. He's fought Canelo. He's financially secure. Not that Buatsi isn't as well. He's probably got a shed load of money as well. But he's the one who's got the ambition in the sport. Callum Smith is the one who's kind of been there, done that. So he's trying to take what Callum Smith's got, essentially. So it's a big night for Buatsi. It's a big night for Boxer for any future endeavours. I'm going to go with him to rise to the occasion and get it done. But obviously would not surprise me at all if he gets caught. It really wouldn't. But yeah, I'll stick with Buatsi on points, round about 8-4 for me. Pablo says Callum KO. Would make him reborn, absolutely. It's fought 18 rounds in 4 years. There you go. That's a great stat, Jay. 18 rounds in 4 years. Callum's fought. That just ties in with what we're saying. He hasn't been in a distance fight since Canelo in 2020. You know, it's 2025. For me, those statistics are hard to ignore. And I completely agree with you and the rest of the guys who are picking Callum Smith and the basis that you're picking them on. That's just the way that I kind of see it. But we've said it already, but this is our third prediction video out of the 7 fights. Obviously, we're going to do all of them. Every single one of them. You come back round in circle and you go, yeah, well, you know, I can sort of see it for, you know, most of the time we're going, oh, yeah, well, we think he's going to win it or, you know, whatever. This is genuinely that good a card. You're just going to keep going back and forth. You know, I'm talking myself round into picking Smith to knock him out now by the second, but I'm going to stick with JB to get it done. So we're one apiece here. We got Smith KO late for Jay, Buatsi on points for me, of course. Let us know in the comments how you see the fight going. It's for the WBO interim light heavyweight world championship. Buatsi defending after picking that up against Hutchison last time out. Big thanks to Pablo, Lloyd, DJ Pat, anyone else who's watching with us as well that hasn't commented. We'll be back. We've got one more to come tonight. It's the WBC middleweight world championship fight.
Oh, yes.
Shiraz realize his destiny is facing the tough Carlos Adames. We're going to preview that one in the coming minutes. So stay with us, guys. Just keep an eye on the channel. Jay, pleasure as always, my friend.
Thanks for having me, bro. See you soon.